As we know that the issue of relationship cannot be overemphasized. A lot of things have been discussed about relationship, but because it has many faces to it, we can't really do justice to it. But some times ago, I just came up with something pops into my mind. What actually came to my mind was, how do we handle comebacks? That's why I thought it's wise to actually come up with this discussion. And the topic for today is, how do we handle comebacks? I am Olujoke, saying welcome to you on Let's Talk. And I won't be doing this alone. I have with me Olufumilayo. Hello, Fumi. How are you?
Hi, Jackie. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. It's nice having you here. Now, Fumi, while I was doing while I was doing my introduction, I talked about how to handle comebacks. In your own way, in your own understanding, how would you define comebacks, or what would you say comeback is?
Okay, my understanding then, a comeback is when you actually had a relationship with someone and the person is trying to find their way back into your life, maybe as a result of differences that you've had and over time has been sorted out, and the person feels, oh, okay, I think I do better with this person in my life. So he or she tries to want their way back into your life to continue the relationship from where you stopped, or to start afresh, have a fresh start of the relationship in order to be better or do better.
Okay, now on that instance, have you ever seen or heard about, because for me, it's actually, when the topic came to my mind, it was really strange, because I've never really heard anybody or any relationship motivational speaker or somebody, relationship counselor or expert, talk about how people handle comebacks. I'm not saying maybe someone else had not said it, but I'm just saying I've never really heard about it. And which was why I had to okay, let's see how do we handle issues like that when it actually happened.
Yes, I've seen a couple of relationships experience a comeback, and a comeback can be tricky, can be very tricky if one is not careful. The first thing to think about would be, why was there a breakup in the first place?
Okay.
What happened? What was the issue? So the first thing when you're having a comeback is to ensure that whatever the issue was, that there was a breakup, is being addressed. And the first thing is that, are these issues relational or foundational? Relational issues are very easy to address. It just boils down to communication, and you guys don't actually see things from the same point of view, which is okay because we're different human beings, and relational issues could actually take complications and a lot of patience to deal with. And we also have foundational issues. Foundational issues could be deeper than we think. So I would speak on a comeback only on the basis that whatever caused a breakup in the first place is a relational issue. It's an issue that can easily be addressed, and as it's been addressed, that's why you're experiencing a comeback. And a comeback, we don't judge it through emotions. The person has to try to separate emotions from reality. I mean, your sense of reasoning has to come to play. You can't say, oh, because I've loved this person once, and it depends on the amount of time that has actually gone into the breakup. Sometimes it takes a year or 2 or 3 or 4, and the person is not the same.
A lot has changed, for good, for bad. We don't really know. So you have to be sure that you understand who you're actually dealing with now. We're not relating with them based on the fact of what we know, but based on the issue we've had with them. Now you have to ensure that the same problems don't repeat themselves. Is the person a different person? If it's abuse, which I think is a foundational issue, should not be a basis for a comeback. When someone abuses you or the relationship was toxic, I don't think in the best of my knowledge, except if it's purely you're taking so much time on it and you're seeing that the person is not the same. But abusers hardly change, and that's what we know for a fact. So the thing is, why can't you move on? Why are you accepting this person back again? What is the reason? Is it because you can't move on? Is it because you think, oh, you love the person too much, you can't move on, you're willing to take on all the negatives because you can't move on? I mean, you have to be able to dissect your own intentions. What are the intentions you have towards the relationship? What are his intentions? Are his intention clear? Is it for revenge? Is it just because he feels, oh, he cannot move on? Not being able to move on should not be a basis for a comeback. It just means that whatever it is that the problem is, without being addressed, you guys are willing to still move on. Now, handling a comeback, you have to deal with facts and not emotions, not based on, oh, I will do this, oh, I've changed and everything. It takes time. This thing takes a lot of time. And now the person has been gone for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. So you really don't know this person anymore. You're dealing with a different person entirely. So you need time to get your facts right. You need time to actually see that this person has changed. This is not a time to base it on the fact that, oh, the person is saying I've changed. Okay, I know you've changed. Let me see the change. The change has to be factual. It has to be something you can see and something you can build on. Then you need to give it time. You can't just rush into a comeback or because, oh, there's no time, I'm aging, or I don't have a relationship, I'm bored, or it's tiring not being in one. You need to give it time. You can start from being friends again. You can start from improving your communication skills. Look at the issues that caused a breakup. Try to dwell on them and see that those issues are being sorted truthfully. Now, this is not the time to say that I love him too much. This is not the time to base anything on emotions, because forever is a long time to base it on, oh, I love him on that. You have to set aside your emotions as well for the other person too. You have to be able to not judge him based on his emotions or how he is with you, but based on his intentions. You have to be able to verify that all these facts are clear. It's not about, oh, I'm going to do this. It's about what he's doing, what you can see. You have your facts and give it time. And
okay, for me, before you continue before you go to the last one, I would want to actually say something about what actually, fine, the reason why the person left. If, for instance, if the lady found someone else or the guy found someone else and broke up the relationship because you found love somewhere else. And then I would want to say that maybe when the person starts coming, it's either of two things. It's either where the person went was not favorable at all, or because if the place was so beautiful and so nice, the person would come back in the first instance. And then secondly, let's look at the spiritual aspect. Maybe the person was told, oh, this path you're treading is not actually the right path for you. You have to go back to where you're coming from. It's either of the two, because I know that if any man or woman goes somewhere else, if the place is very cool and peaceful, the person will never come back. So in this view, what would you say to anyone who is actually in that situation? How would you tell the person to address it?
Okay, that's why I started off with relational issues and foundational issues. Now, if we take it spiritual, or you say that I went to a pastor, he said you are not my wife, and you believe it without even having to pray. If you're a child of God and you claim to be faith-based and everything, you are supposed to do a discovery yourself if it's actually true. Now, this is a foundational issue, and most times foundational issues are best avoided. It's not a time for you to start to delve into it. If you accept that kind of person back, there's a 90% assurance he will still tell you the same thing and say, oh, I went to pray again. The pastor who said this,
yeah, confused people, right?
Avoid break up, make up. It's just a cycle. That person will just remain in the same circle. Now, on the issue of having to go to finding someone else who he thinks is fine, or this person is cool, I'm okay with the person, and he breaks up with the person, that's also a foundational issue, because it just goes a long way to tell you that this person can't withstand any storm with you. He can't be with you all along. When the storms are good, when there's a storm, he feels that, oh, I can't deal. Having a relationship is having to endure the good times and the bad times, even when you're not so fantastic to be with. You have a lot of issues around you. Someone who really and truly loves you will work with you with it. So in take marriage for example, you can't keep stepping out and keep saying, you will find people who are actually better than your spouse. You will find people who are 100%. I mean, people you will really love to be with and deal with. So do you keep stepping out of that relationship every time you find someone who's actually better, or you want to keep watering your own garden? Like they say, the grass is not greener at the other side. The person just tends it better. So if you can't take time to tend your relationship, to water it, to just do everything you can to make it work, the person is obviously got issues. So based on those two issues, I don't think that relationship should experience a comeback, because the underlying issues are they're foundational. It has to do with the core of a person, who someone really is. If you tell me that you went to a pastor to pray, I expect that if you're a child of God, if we're faith-based, if we're of the same faith, I expect that we pray and we're sure that, oh, truly, I think this can work. But if you just take a pastor's word for it, it means that you actually had intentions yourself to break it all off, and you were just looking for a soft landing. So on that note, I don't think, except now if his intentions, that's why I said you judge intentions and not emotions. If it comes back and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know what, or whatever, you need to give it time to judge intentions. Intentions, you don't base your life or your relationship based on what someone is saying. Anybody can say anything, but time tells everything. With time, you actually see that, oh, this person is not even
what you think it is.
So
yes,
we can't rule out and say that, oh, if it's based on he went to a pastor, he prayed and he came back. Some people are not as strong as we are, or as strong as we feel that they should be when it comes to spiritual issues. So we're not going to also rule them out. So we try to also take this fact, judge his intentions, judge his, are you even willing to, would your heart be open to love that person again? That's another thing. We can't be in a loveless relationship just because, oh, I think he's my ex. Like people will say, the devil you know is better.
Than the angel you just met.
Yeah, I don't think we should encounter the devil at all. I mean, if you can avoid it, avoid it. So we need to judge and be sure that, oh, I can actually love this person again. It's very hard to actually re-love someone you've loved and hurt you, or you hurt the person. It's hard for the person to actually trust you again. You're building trust now. You're building love again.
So it's like starting all over.
You're starting all over. That was my last point, actually. You have to give it a fresh start. You can't base your relationship now based on, oh, that's the same thing you did. You will keep having issues in the relationship if you keep referring to what has happened.
So how do you settle that aspect of, because there is no way that you can't keep going back to the same thing. It can never go forever. You still have to go back to it. Consciously, unconsciously, you get to talk about it.
So how to deal with that aspect? I would say that having judged through all those things, found out why you're moving on, the issues have been solved, you've based your decisions on the fact, you've given it time and everything. Forgiveness is what comes into play. You have to learn to forgive. If you don't forgive, you can't have an open heart to love the person again. Forgiveness begets love. If you don't forgive, I mean, you can't even see the best of the person. Everything he or she does will be like, you're just trying to get my attention. You're just he's trying so hard. He's doing this. So you have to forgive, and it's hard to forget. I mean, they're not wiping out your memory, but you just have to find a way to forgive. You have because if you don't forgive, even going into that relationship yourself, you won't enjoy it. You're shortchanging your happiness just because you refuse to forgive. If you cannot forgive the person, why be in the relationship in the first place? So if you can't forgive, if you find it too hard to forgive or to look past what has happened, I don't think you should be in that relationship. So many people are in relationships that they have a lot of thoughts they carry around, and they say it in their heart that let me marry this person, I will teach him, let's say everything.
Yes, thank you for coming to that point about let me marry this person. Now, take for instance, Yeah, because you happen now, all those kind of comebacks, do they really end up in marriage? Is it just an open heart marriage, or oh, there is no other option? This one, the devil I know is better than the angel I just met. So let me just go with the flow and just let's get married. How would you? What is? Do those things really happen? Can it happen? And when it happens, do you? Are you assured? Can you give us an assurance, or is there any assurance of 100% marital bliss?
Yeah, now he boils down on the two of you, on the parties in the relationship. I mean, for someone to go to the length of marriage and it's a comeback and you want to get married, marriage is a lifelong journey. Of course, comebacks actually lead to marriage, but it's not something you can jump at. Like I said, the issue you have had that caused a breakup are one of the issues you have to look closely into, especially when the person is a fantastic person. Oh, he's a good guy, is okay. It's just this issue. Now, if it's just that issue and you're sure that that issue is solved and there are no issues again around it and there are things you can live with, that's another thing. You should be able to live with them. They're not things that I cannot live with it, I cannot deal, I cannot. If you still have potholes like that in the relationship, that there are things that I can't deal with, then you shouldn't even step into marriage in that kind of issue, because whether you like it or not, the marriage won't have bliss. It will keep being a marriage of settle today, fight tomorrow, and before you know it, the woman can actually get tired and frustrated, begins to look out or loses interest in the home. Generally, men are their patience level is not so high. Before you know it, they begin to give attention to either alcohol, put their energy in the job, have side chicks, and then before you know it, the marriage is messed up. So before a comeback can actually lead to marriage, it's a whole lot more. You have to be able to tick the boxes of what works for you. Also, the other person has to tick the boxes of what works for you. And now, communication has to come into play. You guys have to communicate, agree, okay, we're putting everything that has happened behind us, and we don't want to refer back to them. When you have issues, you have to come to an agreement that whenever we have issues, anything relating to something we've experienced, we're not going to be referring to it. We're going to deal with every issue as if it's new, like we've not seen it before. So it boils down on the parties involved. They just have to come to an agreement and communicate and constantly work at it. Of course, comebacks always lead to marriage, and the marriage can be blissful. I mean, more blissful than they can ever imagine, but it takes hard work of the partners involved. You can't want external forces to give you happiness or make your marriage work. It has to do with the both of you. You guys have to put in a lot of hard work in it, and be rest assured that if you're ready to work at it and put your 100% into it, it's going to be blissful. I'm very sure of that. It's going to be very blissful.
Okay, so basically, I would also want to add that even as individuals in the relationship, you also have to put God first too, because he is actually the one that can also help in coming out of all of this. Because number one, the trust has been broken. The love has been, there is a dent on the love already. And you coming up with it is actually something, because at this juncture, any movement of the person, the guy or the lady, or the phone calls is suspicious. You're not sure anymore, because the excitement you had when you said yes to the person is no longer there. And then you coming up with different things. And the fact that you guys have gone your separate ways, you've met with different person and all. Now, all those experiences too, if they were not nice, or if they were okay, but something just came up, now you'll be looking for those qualities in the guy again, or in the lady, and those are other aspects that was bad. I think at this time there's every tendency of comparison, which might not be also healthy for that relationship. Now, in this instance, having said all of these things, I'm sure some people out there will still feel like, no, it still doesn't work. It's still not going to happen. Or some people will say, see, anyway, I've said good night, I can't say good morning again. Even if they see the green lights, even if they see that, okay, this guy or this lady has really changed, for those kind of people, what would you advise them to do?
Okay, for any relationship at all, comparisons are bad. You won't get the best of your partner, whether it's a fresh relationship or a comeback, a new or old relationship. You're not expected to compare. When you begin to compare the quality, we're unique in our own ways. I have my flaws. I have the best of my characteristics. So we're not expected to compare in any way. Then when you've gone to and fro and you had seen different guys and everything, that's why I said initially that you have to be sure that this is someone you can open up your love to. This is someone you can deal with. These characteristics, there are some things I can't deal in a man. I can't just deal. I would rather not marry a man that has something I can't live with. So if you realize and you see that, you've gone far and wide, you've seen, these are my standards. Being able to go back to a relationship should be judged on your standards. Now, everybody has a standard. We all have a standard. We have that, I can't marry someone who's not of the same faith with me. I cannot marry if he cheats. I cannot marry if he's abusive. But some people actually marry guys who cheat, that is still from the relationship, and they still go ahead to marry them. So that we all have standards. So judging by your standard, if you feel that is not something you can live with because the standards you have he's not meeting up to that standard, there's no point going into that relationship. Maybe now that explains why people feel that, where I've said good night, I cannot say, because they feel that they have seen enough for them not to want to go back. And it's fine. That's why they're your exes anyway. For them, it might not be that the guy actually did a particular thing that made them break up. It might be a trait that they've actually tried to manage and lived with, and they feel, I can't deal anymore. And there's a breakup. So you can't actually advise such person to, exes are not always bad. For them, they had experienced them, they had seen them, they had lived, not lived though, but they had dated them for a while, and they feel that I cannot deal. So it's fine. If you feel that you cannot deal with a trait or a particular character someone has, character is who we are. And if he's coming back again, he still has the character. If you feel that you can't deal with it this time and you think, I'm a lot matured, the character is not all that bad, I can deal, it's fine. But if you still have that standard you put in place in the first place and you can't deal, then there's no point going into such relationships again. So I would say that you have to judge what you like about a person or what you can live with about a person based on your own standards. And our standards are not the same. Your standard and my standards are not the same. So if you feel that it's not working for you, it's not your standard, then there's no point going into it. If you feel that, fine, I am more matured, I think these standards I had before are kind of childish, or I've grown, I've seen that, then you feel that you can live with it, it's also fine. So that's what I would say to people like that.
Okay, finally, I would want you to just advise young ones, adults, people who had married and they got divorced, and people who are experiencing trials, challenges. Of course, we are not with our own idea, with our own experience, we might not be in the best position to actually give the best advice, but basically a little of everything actually makes a difference. So for me, would you like to say something else that just to encourage all of these people?
Okay, for everyone going through a pain or the other, marital turbulence or anything might be, I would just say first and foremost, God is the only plug. You just have to have God and take everything to him in prayer. Then there are red flags that you would see in a relationship. Then for these singles, there are actually red flags you see in a relationship. Don't push them aside. Don't feel that, oh, it's just that. Don't be too much in a hurry to want to be loved, to want to be wanted, to want to belong to a relationship, to overlook so much of the rest. Because the truth is that we see these things, they find a way of presenting themselves to us. They find a way of showing themselves. We might not see it for what it truly is, the big picture and everything, but we see the glimpses and we try to push them under the carpet. So for singles, take time. Nobody marks a register of marriage or, oh, you just got married, you got married. Nobody marks a register. Take your time. It's really not worth the rush, and you're not taking the right measures to ensure that you're going to enjoy bliss in your marriage. It's not worth it. It's worth it when you take your time, and at the end of the day, you can, before God and man, you can stand and beat yourself in the chest that, oh, I took my time, I waited, I did everything right, and I'm marrying the best man that there is for me. So take your time. There's really no rush. And for married ones who are already in it, nobody signs up for divorce when you're getting married. So I would just say that take everything to God in prayer. Then when it becomes too toxic, like I would say for cheating, abuse and everything, it's best to run. Run, because you don't have a duplicate life. When it becomes too toxic and you feel that you can't deal, it's best to run. And I pray that every one of us will enjoy bliss in our relationships and in our marriages by the grace of God.
All right. Thank you so much. It has been wonderful talking with you. But I would leave you with this. Number one thing she said that I actually want to share with you is, remember, the grass is not greener at the other side. The person just happened to tend it better. And then the second thing is, tick the boxes of what works for you. While the third thing is, character is who we are. So if you can agree with me on all of these bullet points, you would know that your life is much more important, and every decision you make, every choice you make is on you, is about you and everything. So if you feel the guy is coming back and you feel, okay, I can deal with it, fine, go ahead with it. And if you think it's not going to happen, you can't deal with it, you have moved on, you've seen so many things about life, and you feel you can't just handle the past, then let the past go and open a new chapter for your life. In case you have any contributions, suggestions, or answers you want to share with us, you can always drop the comment at the comment box, and I can assure you that I'm going to get back to you on that. And if there is anything we can also do, of course, this is a build-up. We can always get other people also to talk more about it. Perhaps you have something that you would want to listen to, you want us to discuss, you want solution, or you want answers, then you can also reach us with it, and definitely I will get back to you. Just click on the message box, send your messages, or drop your comment, and I'll be glad to get back to you. And until next time, I remain Olujoke. And Funmilayo, thank you so much for taking our time to be on this show. It's Let's Talk People. Until next time, bye for now.